Okay.
Oh, okay. Now I won't forget to share the sound.
Yeah, remember we started last week with no sound. Okay.
Okay, but the sound is there. Okay, hang on.
Okay.
Wait a second. I need to.
Well, I can start talking, can I?
Well, yeah, you
Okay.
can start talking.
So this session, we're gonna just focus on the guys who are telling the jokes and singing the songs up in the Borscht Belt. But before we start, I'm gonna keep our tradition of the past 4 weeks, and that's opening with a nostalgic music video. So tonight is going to be Jerry Orbach is going to be singing Try to Remember, which was a song from the show The Fantastics. And I think Jerry Orbach would be pretty appropriate because he plays Dr. Houseman in Dirty Dancing. And most of you don't think of him as a song and dance guy because of his long stay on Law and Order. But I will say I didn't see him, but Nadine saw him on Broadway in a play called Promises, Promises. So let's kick this off with Jerry Orbach.
Oh, Annette, you have to admit.
Ladies and gentlemen, singing Try to Remember from the Fantastics, My Little Apprentice, Jerry Orbach.
Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow and oh so mellow. Try to remember the kind of September when grass was green and grain was yellow. Try to remember the kind of September when you were a tender and callow fellow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Try to remember when life was so tender that no one wept except the willow. Try to remember when life was so tender that dreams were kept beside your pillow. Try to remember when life was so tender that love was an ember about to billow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember, although you know the snow will follow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember, without a hurt, the heart is hollow. Deep December, it's nice to remember the fire of September that made us mellow. Deep in December, our hearts should remember and follow. Follow.
Okay. So Nathan and I, we actually saw the Fantastics at the Westbury Music Fair in Long Island. And there was a time, I don't think it is anymore, but there was a time where it was the longest running off-Broadway play. I'm not too sure who has taken that title over. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the entertainers in the Borscht Belt, and we'll start with a very famous pair, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. So let me tell you a little something about these guys. Jerry Lewis was born March 16th, 1926. Actually, March 16th is the day that Nadine and I got married, but it was a few years after 1926. He was born in Newark, New Jersey. His parents were Daniel Levitch, who was a vaudevillian, and Rachel, who was a pianist and her husband's musical director. Jerry's birth name was Joseph, although his birth certificate listed it as Jerome. He dropped out of Irvington High School in the 10th grade to pursue a show business career. He created an act miming lyrics and was able to get a job in a burlesque house in Buffalo. That performance tanked, and he couldn't land another job. He worked as an usher and soda jerk in Suzanne Pleshette's father's Paramount Theater. That's something I learned when I did the research on this, that Suzanne Pleshette's father owned the Paramount Theater. Veteran burlesque comedian Max Coleman, who was also a friend of Jerry's father, got him a job at Brown's Hotel. The audience was so enthusiastic that veteran Borscht Belt comedian Irving Kay became Jerry's manager for Borscht Belt appearances. As we all know, he later teamed up with Dean Martin to become the biggest singing comedy duo in the 1950s and 1960s. Jerry died in 2017. Now, Dino Paul Crocetti was born June 7th, 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio. His parents were Gaetano Alfonso and Angela, both born in Abruzzo, Italy. Dean did not speak English until 5 years old when he attended school. Like Jerry, he also dropped out of high school in the 10th grade at Steubenville High School. And it was because, if you asked him, it was because he was smarter than the teachers. He then did some bootlegging and then a croupier and blackjack dealer at a speakeasy, and finally tried his luck at boxing. During his illustrious, and I put that in quotes, boxing career, he started singing for a few local bands. His big break came when he was hired by the Ernie Mackay Orchestra. This orchestra was pretty popular and led to gigs throughout the Catskills and the New York circuit. It was at the Glass Hat Club in New York City where he met comic Jerry Lewis. They became good friends and shortly after teamed up. Dean died in 1995, and let's watch a little clip of the two of them together.
Joe, like old time, you sing a song for Mama,
Oh,
see?
no, Mom, not in front of all these people.
Joe, you sing it for Mama.
In Napoli, where love is king, when boy meets girl, here's what they sing. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll sing Vita Bella.
Bravo, Joe.
Hearts will play tippy-tippy-tay, like a gay tarantella. Lucky fella. When the stars make you drool, just like pasta fazool, that's amore. When you dance down the street with a cloud at your feet, you're in love. When you walk in a dream. But you know you're not dreaming, Signora.
Mama!
Scusa me, but you see, back in old Napoli, that's amore.
If you still kiss your girl after garlic and oil, that's amore.
That's amore.
If you call her your pet, though she's shaped like spaghetti, that's amore.
That's amore. Bells will ring.
Ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling.
You sing Vita Bella. Vita Bella. Hearts will play.
Tippy-tippy-tay, tippy-tippy-tay.
Like a gay tarantella.
Tarantella.
When the stars make you drool, just like a pasta fazool. That's amore.
That's amore.
When you dance down the street with the cloud at your feet, you're in love.
You're in love.
When you walk in a dream, but you know you're not dreaming. Scusa me, but you see, back in old Napoli, that's amore.
Tutte quante cantate, everybody sing.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. That's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. That's amore. When you are in a dream, but you know you're not dreaming.
Signore! Che vuoi? Prendilo! Scusami, but you see, back in old Napoli, that's amore!
Signore, that's amore.
So Dean really had a smooth voice, and interesting, Jerry Lewis really had a pretty good voice also. And we all know that Al Jolson was the original jazz singer, but there was a production done in the 50s, I think it was the 50s, where Jerry Lewis actually played the jazz singer. There was also another one where Danny Thomas, which think about that, playing the jazz singer was kind of odd. Okay, let's move on to our next Borscht Belt entertainer, and that's Aaron Schwart, Red Buttons. So Red Buttons was born February 5th, 1919 in Manhattan to Jewish immigrants Michael and Sophie Schwart. At age 16, he got a job as an entertaining bellhop at Ryan's Tavern in City Island, New York. That same summer, he got a job as Robert Alder's straight man in the Catskills, working the Irvington Hotel in South Fallsburg, New York. And yes, Robert Alder is Hawkeye's father, Alan Alder. The MC at the hotel became incapacitated and Red Buttons took over. In addition to being a stand-up comic, he had a very illustrious career in the movies, highlighted by his winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Sayonara. And who could forget him parachuting and getting stuck on a church in Normandy in the movie The Longest Day. If you're there, you will still see a replica of Red Buttons hanging from the church. He later became a nationally known comedian with the signature routine of Never Got a Dinner, which is what we saw at that roast, I think 2 weeks ago, or last 2 weeks ago, we saw that. Red died in 2006. We're going to look at a clip now, which is from a telethon for a Chabad in Los Angeles.
The one and only Red Buttons. Here we go.
Thank you. I gave already.
You think you're going to follow the mayor dancing?
Was the mayor dancing? Was that the mayor? Which one was the mayor? Oh. Jerry Weintraub, God bless you. God bless you. Just saw you dance. Beautiful. What a man. What a heart. Jerry Weintraub. You talk about a man with heart. A man who read in the paper it takes $10 a year to support a kid in India, so he sent them his kids. Who am I here for tonight, even though it hurts my throat to say it? Chabad. I am here tonight for Chabad, to do a show for Chabad. And I want you to know that I am delighted and I am thrilled because some of the greatest Jews in the history of the world never did a show for Chabad. I happen to have right here a small list that I made out yesterday while in a minion of some of the biggies since the beginning of time, Jan. Some of the biggest Jews who never did a show for Chabad. Noah's wife who said to Noah, I don't care what you say, I'm taking an umbrella. Never did a show for Chabad. King Solomon's sandwich maker who said to Solomon, you want me to cut this in half? Never did a show for Chabad. Moses, who said when he came down from Mount Sinai, their food in that hospital is terrible. Never did a show for Chabad. Mrs. Menachem Begin, who said to Rosalind Carter, no, you can't make matzo balls out of grits. Never did a show for Chabad. By golly, look at these people. You can get killed around here. Just look. Steven Spielberg's mother, who said to E.T., I don't care where you're from, you're here, and you're going to get bar mitzvah. Never did a show for Chabad. I love you, Chabad.
Yeah, that's some funny stuff.
The one and
Okay,
only.
let's move on to Miss Marilyn Michaels. All right, so Marilyn Michaels was born February 26, 1943 in Manhattan. Her parents were Russian immigrants. Harold Sternberg, he was a bass with the Metropolitan Opera for 37 years. And her mother was Friedela Oisha, who was a cantoress. Her uncle was the famous actor and cantor Moishe Oisha. I remember my parents would say that every once in a while, and I didn't realize it was a real person. I just heard it. At age 7, she started performing with her mother on the Yiddish stage. While at the High School of Music and Art, she signed a record deal and had a few songs that made the charts. They were Johnny, Where Are You? And Tell Tommy I Miss Him. I can honestly tell you I've never heard of either of those songs. She started appearing on many of the TV variety shows and was a regular up in the Catskills. She made her Broadway debut at the Lunt-Fontanne Theater in the original cast of Catskills on Broadway. And I don't think many people realize this, but for 1 year on Broadway, she played Fanny Brice in Funny Girl. Her amazing talent is demonstrated as she impersonates many of the top female singers. Marilyn is still around today. In 2018, she wrote a humorous biography called How Not to Cook for the Rest of Your Life. And we'll watch a piece of Marilyn, but at one time she was known in the Borscht Belt as the top female singing impersonator.
Now let's meet the top girl singers of the day, all rolled into one small bundle of charm. Miss Marilyn Michaels.
Once in a lifetime, a girl
moments when fate takes a hand. And this is my moment, my once in a lifetime. But what am I gonna do? I mean, who am I gonna be like? I know, I'll sing like Ethel Merman. Say that falling in love is wonderful. In every way. So see, I'd love to sell about 1 million records a la Connie Francis. Where the boys are, someone waits for me. Where the boys are, where the boys are, where the boys are, someone waits for me. The night is bitter, the stars have lost their glitter, the winds grow colder, and suddenly you're older, and all because of the man and the is where it began. There is nothing sadder than a one-man woman looking for the man that Ladies and gentlemen, the new funny girl, Miss Barbara Streisand. So long, sad times, go long bad times. You are not here. Happy days are here again. Here again. So let's sing a song. Oh, cheer again. Happy night, happy times, happy days.
All right. So not only does she have a good voice, but I think she got all the hand and face motions down pat. And in case you guys don't remember, Barbara Streisand sang Happy Days Are Here Again at Bill Clinton's inauguration. Okay, so this brings us to Mr. Alan Konigsberg. Woody Allen was born December 1st, 1935 in Brooklyn. He's the son of Martin and Nettie Konigsberg. Martin was an engraver and a waiter, and Nettie was the bookkeeper at the family deli. He attended Midwood High School. I didn't go to Midwood, but it certainly was in the neighborhood where I lived. And he was a baseball star, and he was also known for his magic tricks. He started writing jokes, which he sold to newspapers. He attended NYU, but dropped out after one semester. Then he enrolled at City College in film studies, but also didn't last past one semester. He sent some jokes to Abe Burrows, who thought the comedy was fantastic. Burrows introduced Woody to Sid Caesar, Phil Silvers, and others. He was becoming pretty popular. He was afraid to try stand-up himself until he saw Mort Saul and then realized he could be a comic. He made his debut in 1960 at the Blue Angel Club in Manhattan. He signed with a new manager, Jack Rollins. He was appearing throughout the Catskills in the New York City clubs and was making the circuit on TV shows. In 1966, he was the playwright for Don't Drink the Water, and then 3 years later, Play It Again, Sam. He followed that with an amazing film career. Annie Hall got the Oscar for the Best Picture. He got the Oscar for Best Director and Best Screenplay, and Diane Keaton got the Oscar for Best Actress. Woody is still going strong, making movies at the age of 86. And let's watch a very, very early Woody Allen tell us the story about the moose.
I shot a moose once. I didn't mean to break it to you that way. I shot a moose. Was hunting upstate New York in the woods. I tied the moose onto the fender of my car, and I drove back home. But I didn't realize that the bullet had not penetrated the moose, but had just creased its scalp, knocking it unconscious. I'm driving home along the highway, and I'm going through a tunnel. The moose woke up. So I'm driving with a live moose on my fender. The moose is signaling for a turn. And there's a law in New York State against driving with a conscious moose Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. All right, I don't know what to do. I'm panicky. I realize some friends of mine are having a costume party. I'll go with the moose. I'll ditch him at the party. It wouldn't be my responsibility. So I drive to the party. I go up to the front door. The moose is next to me. I knock on the front door. The host comes to the door. I say, hello. You know the Solomons. We go in. The moose starts to mingle. Goes to the buffet table. Some guy tries to sell him insurance. The moose is doing great, meanwhile, you know. He scored. 12 o'clock comes. They judge who's got the best costume of the night. First prize goes to the Berkowitzes. A married couple dressed in a moose suit. The moose comes in second. The moose is furious. He and the Berkowitzes lock antlers in the living room. They knock each other unconscious. Now I figure I'll get rid of them for good. I pile them on the fender and speed up to the woods. But I got the Berkowitzes. I'm driving along with two Jewish people on my fender. And there's a law in New York State. The next morning, the Berkowitzes wake up in the woods in a moose suit. Mr. Berkowitz is shot, stuffed, and mounted at the New York City Golf Club. And the joke is on them because they don't allow Jews.
Okay, so that's Woody Allen. And for those of you not from New York City, he made a reference where it's against the law Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever he said. So New York is very well known for alternate side of the street parking. And that's how they clean their streets. You're only allowed to park on one side on certain days. Okay, let's move on to Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet, two of my favorites, especially Edie. So Edie Gourmet was born August 16th, 1928 in the Bronx. Her parents were Sephardic Jews. Her mother was born in Turkey and her father in Sicily. While attending City College, she got a job as a translator, and on weekends, she sang with the Ken Greengrass Band. She signed a record deal in 1952. She had quite a few songs that made the charts, but only one hit the top 10, and that was Blame It on the Bossa Nova. And I think I mentioned earlier that Edie's sister was my homeroom teacher at Tilden High School in Brooklyn. Steve Lawrence was born July 8th, 1935 in Brooklyn. His father, Max, was a cantor. He attended Thomas Jefferson High School, which happens to be the rival high school of Tilden. I don't think it mattered then because I don't think they knew each other then. In the late 1950s, he was drafted into the Army, and he was the official vocal soloist with the U.S. Army Band. Another piece of information I picked up when I researched for this program. As a recording star, he had many chart busters, including Go Away Little Girl, Pretty Blue Eyes, Footsteps, Portrait of My Love, and Party Doll. They were married in 1957. They started appearing together as a singing duo. In 1968, they starred together in the Broadway musical Golden Rainbow, which Nadine and I happened to have seen on Broadway. The show had the very hit song, I've Gotta Be Me, but it was Sammy Davis Jr. who got the hit with the song, not Stephen Edie. At one time or another, they appeared in just about every hotel in the Borscht Belt. Edie died in 2013. Steve is still alive, but reportedly suffering from Alzheimer's. So let's watch Steve and Edie singing Sinatra.
Some great music introduced by Frank Sinatra as he celebrates his birthday. All or nothing at all. Half a love never appealed to me. If your heart never could yield to me, then I'd rather have nothing at all.
I'm wild again, beguiled again, a simpering, whimpering child again, bewitched, bothered, and bewildered am I.
Come fly with me, let's fly away. Just say the words and we'll beat those birds down to Acapulco Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon, they say. Come on, fly with me, let's fly away.
I'm not the girl who cared about love, and I'm not the girl who cared about fortunes and such. Never cared much, oh, look at me now.
Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun. And this torment won't ever be through till you let me spend my life making love to you day and night, night and day.
Day and
night and day.
Day
and night.
That same old voodoo follows me.
I took a trip on a train, and I thought about you.
Saturday night is the loneliest night in the week, 'cause that's the night when my sweetie and I used to dance cheek to cheek.
Hey there, cutes, put on your dancing boots and come dance with me.
I won't dance.
Why not?
Don't ask me. I won't dance.
How come?
Don't ask me. I won't dance.
Okay, I've got you
I get no kick
under
from
my
champagne.
I've got you
Mere alcohol
deep
does
in the
not
heart of
thrill
me.
me at all. So
deep
tell
in
me
my
why should it
really
be
a part
true
of me
that I get a kick?
out of you? See a pair of laughing eyes. Suddenly you're sighing sighs. You're thinking nothing's wrong. You string along, boy, then snap.
Those fingers in my hair, that sly come hither stare, that strips my conscience bare, it's witchcraft.
Strangers in the night, shooby-dooby-doo, and a ring-a-ding-ding, they cut the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger. What a world, man, this is the life.
This is the life.
What a world, what a life, I'm in love. You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, bells to be rung, and a wonderful fling to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today, 'cause you make me feel so young.
Okay. If you really like that, there's another 6 minutes to this video. You can find it on YouTube. Okay, Ronnie Dangerfield. And you see him holding his tie. Well, the video we're going to show, I want you to count how many times he reaches for his tie. So Ronnie Dangerfield was born November 22nd, 1921 in Long Island. His parents were Dottie Teitelbaum, who was born in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and his father was Philip Cohen, a vaudeville performer using the name of Phil Roy. His father abandoned the family. His mother took him and his sister and moved to Kew Gardens in Queens. While attending Richmond High School, he delivered groceries and sold newspapers and ice cream at the beach to help with his family finances. At the age of 15, he was writing jokes for stand-up comedians and got a gig in a hotel in Ellenville in the Catskills. He legally changed his name to Jack Roy. He really struggled making a living in show business. In the mid-1950s, he was a singing waiter and an aluminum siding sales rep. Listen to that combination. He quit comedy. At the time, and this is his quote, "At the time I quit, no one even knew I quit." He gave it another try in the 1960s, taking on the character of Ronnie Dangerfield, a man who gets no respect. He did a routine as a fill-in on the Ed Sullivan Show on March 5th, 1967, was a big hit, and from then on was a very successful stand-up comic with a few hit movies. He built a comedy club, Dangerfield's, in New York City in 1969. That was the kickoff of many famous comedians. The club is still in existence today. He died in 2004. And Nathan and I once did go to Dangerfield's, and the comedian we saw at the time was Professor Irwin Corey. I don't know if any of you remember that name. And let's watch a piece from The Tonight Show.
Thank you very much. No, I tell you, I'm all right now, but last week I was in rough shape, you know?
I mean, last week, my wife, she signed me up for a bridge club. I jump off next Tuesday. I mean, last week was rough. Are you kidding? Last week I looked up my family tree. 2 dogs were using it. I tell you, I can't relax, you know? Now, the other night I was in a place I felt like having a few drinks. I went over to the bartender. I said, surprise me. He showed me a naked picture of my wife. Are you kidding? My wife is always something. Her father just died. She had his body frozen. Every time I take a snack, he falls out of the refrigerator. I mean, my wife can't do nothing right. Well, last week she cracked up the car. She went into a tree. She said it wasn't her fault. She blew the horn. Well, what a driver she is. Over the dashboard, there's a pair of shoes hanging. They belong to the last guy she hit. Are you kidding? Oh, one night she went out, some guy stole the car. I said to her, did you see what he looked like? She told me she got the license plate number. I don't know. I tell you what, me, nothing comes easy. Well, last week I went to the track. They shut off the opening gun. They killed my horse. Now, last week I got stuck, too. I bought a new book, 100 Ways to Make Love. I ended up in Traction. It was a misprint. I never had any luck with girls anyway. I know I'm ugly. I went to a freak show. They let me in for nothing. My wife, she don't go for me either. And when she gave birth, I asked her if I should be in a room with her. She said, what for? When I got pregnant, you wanted a room with me. I tell you, since I'm a kid, women always gave me a hard time. My mother never breastfed me. She told me she liked me as a friend. I mean, are you kidding? Oh, my mother had morning sickness after I was born. I tell you, when I was a kid, I got no respect at all. You kidding? No respect from anybody. You kidding? The time I was lost on the beach and a cop helped me look for my parents. I said to the cop, you think we'll find them? He said, I don't know, kid, there's so many places they could hide. My old man, he didn't help either. The time I was kidnapped, they sent back a piece of my finger. He said he wanted more proof. You know, as a kid, I went through plenty. Well, my uncle's dying wish, he wanted me on his lap. He was in the electric chair. Well, it's the same thing today, no respect. Well, last week I was going to jump out my window. They called a priest to talk to me. He said, on your mark.
Okay. Okay, so our next entertainer, if we can find it, is Eddie Cantor. So Isidore Itzkovitz was born January 31st, 1892 in New York City. He was the son of 2 immigrants from Russia, Michael, who was an amateur violinist, and Meta Kantowitz. After his mother's death in 1894, which meant he was 2 years old when his mom passed away, he was raised by his grandmother. In 1914, he married Ida Tobias, and we learned in our Eddie Fisher segment, the Cantors had 5 daughters. They were married 62 years until her death. As the president of the Screen Actors Guild, he invented the term March of Dimes to combat polio. One of his early jobs was as a waiter and performer at a Coney Island saloon. His Broadway debut was in the Ziegfeld Follies of 1917. So we know he kicked off Eddie Fisher's career at Grossinger's, but he was also responsible for Dinah Shore's success. Eddie Cantor was a major Broadway, radio, movies, and TV star. He died in 1964 at the age of 72. And let's watch a real short clip of him singing If You Knew Suzie.
Suzie. Girls, let's rehearse the opening number.
Mr. Parker,
Yes?
please fix this. Mr. Parker,
I will be glad to. Yeah, but I couldn't. Now, girls, please. Girls, stop.
Remember, I have got a sweetie known as Susie.
In the words of Shakespeare, she's a wow. Though all of you may know her too, I'd like to shout right now. If you knew Susie like I know Susie, oh, what a girl. There's none so classy as this fair lassie. Oh, my goodness, what a chassis. I had a mustache as cute as a pup. Susie kissed me, and she burned the darn thing up. If you knew Susie like I know Susie, oh, what a girl.
Okay, so those big wide eyes, that was a trademark of. Okay, Alan King, born in 1927 in Manhattan. His parents were Bernard, who was a handbag cutter, and Minnie, born Solomon Nyberg. He dropped out of high school. At age 15, he was hired as a comedian at the Hotel Gratis in the Catskills. After a joke, when he made fun of the owner, he was fired, but immediately hired as MC at the New Prospect Hotel in Mountaindale. And we talked about the New Prospect Hotel in the very first week in the pre-Jewish Borscht Belt segment. He pretty much made the circuit in the Borscht Belt, performing at just about every one of the major hotels. He passed away in 2004 and is remembered for his considerable charitable work. He founded the Alan King Medical Center in Jerusalem. He was a major contributor and fundraiser for the Nassau Center for Emotionally Disturbed Children on Long Island. He established a dramatic arts chair at Brandeis University. He also created the Laugh Well program, which sends comedians to hospitals to perform for patients. He was a heavy cigar smoker and thus died of lung cancer in 2004. The piece that we're going to watch now, Nathan and I must have watched this piece over a dozen times, and every single time we find it hilarious.
Tell me about your obituary collection. Do I have that correctly?
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Some applause, a smattering of applause.
My father, who was the most noble of men, he was an old socialist, unionist. He died at 96, swearing that Sacco and Vanzetti were innocent. You know the type. My father was very angry and also very humorous. That was a weapon. And he'd sit in the morning and read obituaries. Right. And my mother said, she never talked to my father. She always talked about him. What is your father doing? Well, he's sitting there. Why don't you ask him, you know? Ask your father how long he wants to live. Dad, how long do you want to live? You know. He'd sit and read the obituary pages. And I'll never forget the first joke. He said, only in America does everybody die alphabetically. Which I never thought of before.
Pretty good. Right. Pretty good joke.
So what happened, over the years, I started collecting obituaries. I haven't done it. I don't do it in my act anymore. I did it for a while, and people keep saying, and people keep sending me obituaries. Now, I just happened.
Oh, good.
I wasn't going to let this thing lay there. I must put my glasses on. I know yours are built in, but...
Well, for about an hour a day, they're built in.
Did you ever read an obituary page? Try it. Obviously, women live longer than men. Yeah. And every obituary proves it every day. Right. Without going into names, here's the New York Times.
How recently do we
Well, it's March 1988, yeah. But every day. Yeah. Without going into names, I have it on. What does it say there?
Is survived by his wife.
What does that say there?
He is survived by his wife.
What does that say there?
He is survived by his wife.
What does that say?
Is this the same guy?
No, no.
He is survived by his wife.
Survived by his wife, survived by his wife.
6 different
all right,
men.
6 out of 7 on the same day. No, I just happen to have some others here. Right? This is a Xerox, because the original I sent to Smithsonian. Here's a guy, Dr. Carl Sachs. Dr. Carl Sachs, how old?
81.
81.
Botany expert.
Right. 3 on one page. Los Angeles Times. Economist von Mises. How old was he when he died?
92.
Same day. How about this one? T.C. Kistner, retired architect, dies at?
99.
99. What does that say?
He leaves his wife.
What does that say?
is survived by his wife.
He leaves his wife free, guys. Survived by what? Now.
Boy, that's
See, I'm pulling them out of my collection. Here's one. Follow me, see if I make it up. West Point's oldest graduate died. Here was a man, Brigadier General, died at how old?
104.
All right. 40. Will you behave yourself, please? 43 years of active duty. Participated. Spanish-American War, 1898, the Boxer Rebellion.
Yeah.
Veracruz, World War I, right? 4 times awarded the Silver Star, Distinguished Service Cross, and the French Croix de Guerre. Is that correct?
Yes,
104.
what it says, yes.
What does it say there?
He is survived by his wife.
His wife. Now, here's a man, took care of Pancho Villa, fought the Indians, survived 7 wars. Couldn't survive the old lady. Now, I'm on a roll, folks.
That's amazing.
Here is one, and you can't make these things up. Here's a letter from a woman who was recently widowed. She saw me somewhere and said that it was the first laugh she'd had since her husband had died. And she included this wire service. Now, I would like you to read it. I don't want anybody to think I make this up.
Mrs. Vera Kermak of Prague, Czechoslovakia, on hearing that her husband was leaving her for another woman, threw herself from a 3rd-story window to end it all.
All right. Now, this is what we call timing.
She was taken to a hospital and soon recovered.
Now.
Her husband, on whom she landed... Wait a minute. Her husband, on whom she landed, was killed on the spot.
Survived by... And I rest my case.
Okay, I hope you all enjoyed that routine. Okay, let's move on to Mr. Benjamin Kubelski. Jack Benny was born in Chicago on February 14th, 1894. His parents were Jewish immigrants, Maya Kubelski and Emma Sachs. His father was from Poland and his mother from Lithuania. His father was a saloon owner and later a haberdasher. Jack started studying violin at age 6. Interestingly enough, his music teacher was Otto Graham Sr., a neighbor and father of Otto Graham, the very famous NFL star. Jack served in the U.S. Navy in World War I. He entertained the troops and found out they really did not like his violin playing at all. So he started telling jokes and found that his comedy was well received. By 1929, he was appearing in movies, and by 1932, he was invited onto Ed Sullivan's radio program. Jack died in Los Angeles in 1974. We're going to watch 2 pieces of Jack Benny. The first one is taken from a laugh-in segment, and listen carefully to his story. The second one kind of focuses on Jack's 2 main things, which is his age and his cheapness.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce my first guest, I would like to tell you one joke. And as a rule, I don't tell jokes. You know, I just ramble along and talk. But this one is so funny, I really want you to hear it. This is about 2 drunks that were standing at a bar, and one drunk said to the other, "You know what I got my wife the other day? Or what I got for my wife the other day?" The other drunk said, "No, what did you get for your wife the other day?" So the first drunk said, "A poodle." So the other drunk said, this'll kill you. The other drunk said, "Look it, if I think..."
I've tried to tell you 100 times, a million times. I must have said this to you. I don't know how many times. I tell you 100 times, you just shouldn't do it. That's all. You shouldn't do it. That's what I know. I thought it would be funny. Well, it is funny to everybody else, but you just don't say sock it to me to guys like Cassius Clay. That's
Well,
all.
I thought it would be...
So this other drunk said, I wish I could make a trade like that. That's the end of the joke.
Okay, let's watch the other clip now.
Welcome, welcome to the Desoto Plymouth dealers. Say, your face looks familiar. Haven't we met before?
I don't think so, Groucho.
And what is your name, miss?
No, this is the lady.
Oh, I see. Either I'll have to get my glasses fixed or you'll have to do your hair differently. What is your name, sir?
Forsyth. Ronald Forsyth.
Ronald, huh? It was Rodney during rehearsal. Well, okay, now I think we better get started and play You Bet Your Life. Say the secret word, which is something found around the house. The duck will come down and pay you $100.
Something around the house?
Yes. Now, where do you live, Rod?
Well, right now, I'm living in Glendale.
Glendale, eh?
Yes, I have a little home there with 6 rooms and windows and window shades and Venetian blinds and tables and chairs and spoons and saucers and dishes and rugs and knives and forks.
Hold it. Why are you telling me all this?
Well, you said that the secret word is something around the house.
I can't get over how familiar you look. Is the violin you play a Stradivarius?
Oh, no. You see, you have to be rich to be able to have a Stradivarius. See, I'm poor. All I have around my house are towels and rugs and ashtrays.
Look, enough of that already. Now, Rodney, you say you don't have a Stradivarius?
No, sir.
You know, I heard that a lot of imitation Strads have been made and sold.
I know, but they could never fool me because, you see, I could tell a phony.
I guessed it! I guessed the word! I guessed the word! I guessed the word! I guessed the word!
Hold it. There's been a mistake. The duck thought you said the secret word, but you didn't.
What?
Secret word is telephone, and you said telephony.
But I got an impediment in my speech. I always say that. I say telephony. I say yes, phonies. When I shave, I use cologne. I say it all the time.
You use cologne when you shave?
Yeah.
Well, in the sentence you used, you said you wouldn't be fooled because you could telephony.
Well, you didn't let me finish the sentence. I said I was going to telephony a friend of mine who's a violin expert. That's what I was going to say. Honest.
What's his name, this friend? You've got a friend. Well, okay, they say the customer's all right, but I don't know how that applies to you. You sound like the type who's never been a customer.
I don't care. Just let me at this duck. So. There must be more where that came from.
Well, there was, but he just flew in from Las Vegas. The big question tonight is $3,000. Now, you have 15 seconds to decide... You have 15 seconds to decide on a single answer between you. Think carefully and please no help from the audience. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. There is a famous radio and television comedian who was born in Waukegan, Illinois.
Jack Benny. I got it. Jack Benny. I know it. Jack Benny.
Wait a minute. We know it's Jack Benny, Mr. Forsythe, but that's not the question.
What?
The question is this. Now listen. This is the question. For many years, this bum has been lying about his age. Now, for $3,000... For $3,000, can you tell me how old he really is? You've only got 5 seconds more. $3,000. What is Jack Benny's real age?
39.
I'm sorry, but that's the wrong answer, which means the big question next week will be worth $3,500. Thanks and good luck from the Desoto Plymouth Deal.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Let's move on.
Goodbye.
Okay. Fred Sheldon Greenfield was born in Chicago, April 8th, 1926. He served in the Navy in World War II. Upon his return, he planned on being a gym teacher. However, he started working stand-up in the Midwest and got a 6-year contract to perform comedy in New Orleans. He had a passion for horse racing. There was a horse named Shecky Green who lost the Secretariat in the 1973 Kentucky Derby. In the early 70s, he was a popular stand-up comedian, playing many of the hotels in the Borscht Belt. In 1975, Shecky became the second headliner behind Dean Martin at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. He was making $150,000 a week. He was quoted as saying that $125,000 goes to his bookie. He became friends with Johnny Carson and appeared on The Tonight Show 40 times. In 2003, he took a 6-year absence from performing due to panic attacks and stage fright. He returned to the stage in 2009 and is still performing today at age 96. And let's watch a short one-joke video.
I love dialect stories. There's a story about the man that committed adultery. And he went to the corner church, and he said to the priest, he says, "Father," he says, "I've done a terrible thing. I've broken one of the commandments. I've committed adultery." He says, "I beg of you, I'd like some absolution." The priest says, "Well, Tim, we all have our idiosyncrasies. Who was the woman?" He's, "No, Father, I can never divulge the woman's name. Please don't ask me to divulge the woman's name." He says, "Tim, until you can tell me the woman's name, I'm afraid I cannot give you absolution." Was it Mrs. McCaffrey, whose husband's the butcher on the corner? "No, Father, it wasn't Mrs. McCaffrey. Please don't ask me the woman's name. I can never divulge the woman's name." He says, "Tim, I'm telling you, until you tell me the woman's name, I cannot give you absolution." Was it Mrs. McGinnis? He said, "No, Father, it wasn't Mrs. McGinnis. Please, Father, I can never divulge the woman's name." He said, "Tim, until you can make up your mind to give me the woman's name, I can't give you absolution." And Tim started to walk out of the church. And his friends, "Well, Tim, did you get absolution?" He said, "No, but I got some wonderful leads."
Okay, we're going to do 2 more performers. Mel Brooks, Melvin Kaminsky, was born June 18th, 1926 in Brooklyn. His father, Max's family, immigrated from Danzig, Germany. His mother's family was from Kiev, Russia. His father died when he was 2 years old. When he was 9, his uncle took him to see Anything Goes with Ethel Merman on Broadway. After seeing the show, he decided he wanted to be in show business. At 14, he was hired at a Borscht Belt hotel to keep the guests amused with crazy antics. At 16, he filled in for the sick MC, which kicked off his comedy career. He attended Lincoln High School in Coney Island, but graduated from Eastern District High School. At this point, he changed his name to Mel Brooks. In 1944, he was drafted into the Army and served at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and that's where I served also. During the war, he defused landmines as the Allies marched into Germany. After the war, he found himself in the Borscht Belt again as a drummer, pianist, and later as the master entertainer at Grossinger's. In 1950, Sid Caesar hired Brooks as a writer along with Carl Reiner and Neil Simon on your show of shows. On the Dick Van Dyke Show, written by Carl Reiner, Maury Amsterdam's character, Buddy Sorrell, was based on Mel Brooks. He is one of the few people who has been awarded an Oscar, a Grammy, an Emmy, and a Tony. In 1964, he married Anne Bancroft and was married until she passed away in 2005. His great nephew, Todd Kaminsky, is presently a New York State Senator. And we're going to look at two videos of Mel Brooks. So let's go to the first one.
Moses went to the mountain, and God spoke unto him.
Moses, this is the Lord thy God, commanding you to obey my law. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, I hear you. A deaf man could hear you.
What?
Nothing, Gonish, forget it. Oh, Lord, why have you chosen me? What would you have me do for you?
I shall give you my laws, and you shall take them unto the people.
Yes, Lord! Lord, I shall give these laws unto thy people. Hear me! Oh, hear me! All pay heed! The Lord Jehovah, has given unto you these 15, 10 commandments for all to obey.
Yeah, so that piece is from History of the World Part 2, and I'm always curious what the other 5 commandments were. So I think this second one is a pretty nice video. You might recognize another person in this video.
As Mel Brooks once said to his writers on Blazing Saddles, which is a great film, write anything you want because we'll never be heard from again. We will all be arrested for this movie. Now, to be fair, Mel also said, a little more eloquently, that every human being has hundreds of separate people living inside his skin. And the talent of a writer is his ability to give them their separate names, identities, personalities, and have them relate to other characters living within him. And that, I think, is what the arts and the humanities do. They lift up our identities and make us see ourselves in each other. And today's honorees each possess a gift for this kind of creative empathy.
National Medal of Arts recipients, Mel Brooks. The 2015 National Medal of Arts to Mel Brooks for a lifetime of making the world laugh. As a writer, director, actor, and musician, he pioneered the art of musical comedy, and his hilarious, thought-provoking work on film and in theater have earned him the rare distinction of winning Oscar, Emmy, Tony, and Grammy Awards.
Okay, so we're going to close out. We're going to close out this week with a very, very well-respected person, Nathan Birnbaum. So George Burns was born January 20th, 1896 in New York City. He was the 9th of 12 children born to Eliezer and Hadassah Birnbaum immigrants from Poland. In 1917, he was drafted into the U.S. Army, but failed his physical due to poor eyesight. As he was working to be successful in show business, he changed his name, and something I don't like to hear, but it was primarily to hide his Jewish identity. His second wife, Gracie Allen, was his longtime radio and TV partner. They were married for 38 years until her death in 1962. Prior to his incredibly long and successful radio, TV, and movie career, he made the circuit of many of the hotels in the Borscht Belt. And we're going to end with a video of a song he sings. And I want to let this one run all the way to the end so you could see how respected this man is and how loved he is by his fans.
And now for a change, I'm going to sing a song. Here's a song that started a whole new career for me. It was written by Sonny Throckmorton. I wish I was 18 again. At a bar down in Dallas, an old man chimed in, and I thought he was out of his head. Just being a young man, I just laughed it off when I heard what that old man had said. He said, I'll never again turn the young ladies' heads or go running off into the wind. I'm 3/4 home from the start to the end, and I wish I was 18 again. I wish I was 18 again, and going where I've never been. But old folks and old oaks standing tall just pretend. I wish I was 18 again. Now time turns the pages, and oh, life goes so fast. The years turn the black hair all gray. I talk to some young folks, hey, they don't understand the words this old man's got to say. I wish I was 18 again and going where I've never been. But old folks and old oaks standing tall just pretend. I wish I was 18 again. Lord, I wish I was 18 again.
Okay, so we'll stop sharing. The man was definitely an icon.
Okay, hang on.
Okay. Hello again, everybody. So the Borscht Belt had some pretty amazing entertainers up there in their days. And this was just such a small piece of how many there really were performing in these places. But I hope you enjoyed the comedy and the music. There was some good stuff in there. Yeah. Okay, Annette, any comments, any questions, anything going on?
Yes, Michael Schulz told everyone, Irvington High School, I had friends there. Was that Jerry Lewis who?
No, who did it? That's a good question. Let me see if I can tell you real quick.
Because I think he was from Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah, so that probably was Jerry Lewis because he's New Jersey. Let me see.
Yeah, he was from Newark.
Yeah, yeah, Jerry Lewis. Yeah.
Jerry Lewis. Oh, okay.
That was Jerry Lewis.
I mentioned it in passing while you were talking about him. It didn't have to. Not a big deal now.
Oh, okay.
And Irving Fine, the executive producer for George Burns, and then Jack Benny after he died, his sister married my uncle, and so she lived in Waycross, Georgia, and my I met him just once at the wedding. I'm not really met him, but briefly saw him. But anyway, that's my connection. But it's like just the last thing you showed, it said executive producer Irving Fine. I went, yay, I know.
I'll have to go back and look at that. Yeah, Harry, thank you.
That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Okay, so yeah.
And then there were just, what year, this is from Jeff, what year was the clip with Martin and Lewis where?
Well, I don't know what year it was, but I know that it was originally a black and white film that was colorized. So I'm thinking it was probably late 40s, early 50s, something like that.
They look awfully young.
Yeah, but if you looked at the coloring in that, you sort of didn't really appear natural.
Oh, okay. I made the comment, my mother and father went to Thomas Jefferson High School in Brooklyn.
Okay, so you were my rival because I was at Tilden.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my parents.
That's where my mom went.
Yeah.
Someone went to Lincoln High School, and that's where my mother went.
Yeah, you kind of in Brooklyn, you kind of separate the neighborhoods have a name, but you always know which neighborhood, which high school they go to from which neighborhood.
From the neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah. So I started in Lafayette High School. We were living in Bensonhurst, and then I finished in Tilden High School. We moved to Canarsie, which doesn't sound very good, but it was a nice neighborhood. It was.
I went to Brooklyn Tech.
You went to
So
Brooklyn
did
Tech.
I.
Yeah, so Brooklyn Tech,
Yeah.
Brooklyn Tech, for those of you who don't know, that was a specialized school. That wasn't your neighborhood school. You had to be smart to go to that.
It was 6,000 guys, no girls.
Wow.
Oh, right now.
Yeah.
It was yeah. But there's a story, Mel Brooks.
And I think there was one in the Bronx called Stuyvesant High School, which was also.
No, Stuyvesant was Manhattan, Bronx High School of Science.
Oh, yeah, so that was another specialized school. Right?
My sister went to Bronx Science.
Yeah, I went to just a regular school where you didn't have to apply to go to it.
There was a story that Mel Brooks told when he was in the Army, that they had a truce on Christmas Eve in 1944, and he sang "Toot Toot Tootsie Goodbye," and when he was done, the Germans applauded.
Oh, really?
At least that's the story he told.
Garth Brooks does a song. I forgot the name of the song, but it's "Singing Silent Night" with the German troops, where they all put down their guns and.
That really happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really happened. Yes.
In the Bronx.
There's a movie about that, actually.
Yeah, because it really did happen. Yeah. So, is there anything else? If not, I'll give you a heads up of what we're doing next week.
Yes, just Ira said, terrific, Stan. If we missed a session, how do we view the recording? And who in our group dropped out of high school?
Well, is Sharon still here? Did Sharon leave us? Or she left? Because Sharon watched last week's that was recorded, so she would be a good one to tell us.
Well, no, I forwarded it to her.
Okay.
I asked Rabbi Citrin, because this recording goes to the cloud. I said to the rabbi, so like, what's the cloud? Like, I don't understand this whole thing. So she sent me a link to wherever this goes. And then I forwarded it to Sharon, who missed last week's class. I don't think the first two classes, though, were recorded. But Rabbi Citrin is away this week at a camp. So I have to wait till she comes back and then find out. And she could send me the link or find out who might need it, what classes actually did get recorded. I don't think the first two did get recorded.
So the bungalows are in the cloud?
Wait a minute, Harriet. What, Ira?
So the bungalows are in the cloud.
Yeah, last week was.
Yes.
Last week.
Yes.
Was.
And do you want, I probably still have that link from the rabbi. Is that the class that you need to look at, Ira?
Otherwise, it's just like everything else that I've done. I dropped out.
So you want the link, the last link?
Okay. Yeah, that one I know we recorded. That one I know.
Yeah, I can find the rabbi's email that she sent me, and then I can forward it to you. All right, Ira?
Okay, appreciate it, Nadine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So next week's program I call "Not All Stories Have a Happy Ending," and I think you've gotten enough hints along the way that this place doesn't really exist anymore. So we'll talk about what happened to it, and I try to end on an optimistic point that maybe there's hope yet. So we'll see, and that's next week, and I look forward to it in what Nadine and I call BB6.
Well, great
so
job.
Probably
tonight.
on Saturday, I'm going to say to Nadine, "Are you ready to rehearse BB6?" And she'll say yes, and we'll do that.
It was
Okay.
great.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Stan.
Thanks, Sam.
And thank you all for being here. I like doing it, so I appreciate the audience.
But you could stop recording. You've been recording.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna